Good morning. Good morning. This is day 27 of our 30-day healing challenge. We're almost to day 30. That's exciting for me. The fact that I could consistently be here at the same time every day, that is amazing for me. Um, this morning, all right, what have I got for you this morning? I'm going to share another of the poems from the newest book, Spoken Word for the Revolution. And the book that we're working on is Revolution Must Come to Our House, Our Home. And so this is about preparing for a revolution in our own lives. And by the revolution happening in our own lives, um, it reaches outwards. Everyone that comes in contact with us has the opportunity to be impacted. Um, when I first opened my restaurant on my farm, I retired as a farmer, and I was running a farm to table restaurant in rural South Carolina. And a lady brought a gift to me. It was a little statue of a seed sower. It was probably something that was one of those Christian Bible bookstore statues, and it had, a peasant-like person, and they were sowing seeds out of a basket in this shoulder strap basket. And the name of my restaurant was Seeds Cafe, Farm and Farmers Market. But seeds, of course, it was about farming, it was about planting good seeds. And if the opportunity comes, water them well with the best healing water that you could, because the reality is that seeds do their best to grow. And she brought me this statue. Most of the time, if the restaurant was open, it sat on a ledge there. I think at one time I must have had written where it came from. I don't even remember who it was, but it was a lady, one of my older ladies. And I remember at some point talking about that, about sowing seeds. And she was talking perhaps about my involvement in community and the restaurant, of course, but about planting good seeds, because I told people about why I named it that. And I was explaining that one day, and I said it was nice for her to recognize me and my work in that way, but that every one of us are seed planters. Every one of us. That in life we have the opportunity to plant either good seeds or weeds in every single interaction. And I think that's true even in the interactions with ourselves. That when we encounter people, we get to decide what kind of seeds we're choosing to plant. But we're always planting seeds, we're always having an impact on the people we come in contact with. And if we realize that consciously, the mindfulness, and we chose to plant good seeds as often as possible, change begins to happen. And so life is really about choosing the kind of seeds that you plant. If we talked yesterday, or maybe it was in the group Exhale, but about the influence because of us doing our healing, that if nothing else, we're not being triggered and responding with damage to others, and that is helping change the world. So we're seed planters, all of us. Um, Not because you're on social media, not because you have a title, but in our comings and goings, we're either planting good seeds or planting weeds, or we're watering seeds that someone else has already planted. And so it's making sure that if you have the opportunity to plant good seeds, to do that versus planting weeds. And maybe they're not seeds that you're planting, but you have the opportunity to water seeds that have already been planted. And it's to do that with the most healing water you can in your interactions. So, seed planters, we are that. This morning, I thought I would share with you the poem called The Bridge, Crossing from the old world to the new. Some of us are already walking, feet on boards, of something not yet visible to the world we left behind. This isn't theory, this is the bridge, a path across paradigms from collapse to clarity, from survival to sovereignty, from pretending to presence. We didn't wait for the systems to fail. We saw the cracks and started building anew, quietly, boldly, before the fire came. Because some of us knew the storm wasn't a question of if, but when. So we didn't panic, we prepared. The bridge isn't a metaphor, it's a structure. It's the work of shifters and pioneers who didn't need the world to collapse before they started making something better. And now we're walking it. We walk with healed hearts, with full hands, with old wounds transmuted into wisdom. And we don't just walk forward, we reach back, hands extended to those still deciding whether to leave the burning house. We are the ones with one foot in the new world and one arm reaching back, for the ones who are almost ready. But there's more. There are hands on the other side of the bridge, too. Hands of those who've already arrived, already anchored, already living what we're just beginning to believe is possible. They reach for us, welcoming, witnessing, whispering, "You're almost home." This bridge was built with conviction, with spiritual engineering, with blueprints downloaded from dreams, from ancestors, from the earth herself. It is steady, it is sacred, and it will hold. It is steady, although my phone is not. It is steady, it is sacred, and it will hold. But you still have to choose, because staying in the old paradigm is no longer just uncomfortable, it's deadly. Emotionally, economically, ecologically. And this bridge, it's the only way across that wasn't built by empire. It was built by us, by the ones that they tried to silence, the ones they called idealistic, the ones who refused to wait for permission to be free. So if you're listening to this, you're not too late. But the bridge won't be here forever. This is the invitation to cross, to carry, to become. This is the bridge, and it's already waiting for you. And so this piece is called, oh, I'm having issues with my stuff. The Bridge, Crossing from the Old World to the New. And this too is one of the poems that's a part of my newest book that's called Spoken Word for the Revolution, the Global Underground Railroad. It's a manifesto, poems, and healing language for crossing into the new paradigm. And that really what this work is. It's how do we bridge the gap from where we see society be to the future that we're partly living and partly imagining. It's like building the plane while we fly it, yet with a knowing that our future has to be different than our past. And this work is passionate for me because we deserve a better future. Every bubble busts, every pendulum swings in the other direction. And we're seeing that. And that has been my work. How do we prepare not only to anticipate when it's coming, but how do we survive through it to build that better world on the other side? And so this work is about building that bridge in our own lives from where I was to where I'm going, to the greater freedom, to the greater clarity about the values that I not only choose to believe, but that I choose to work towards living in real life. So that's my inspiration for this morning. Become the bridge. Become the bridge. First decide to live in the new paradigm as often as possible, and then build a bridge for others that are almost ready. Good morning, magnificent. Feeling worried today. Thank you for sharing. Worried. I can identify with feeling worried. Good morning, Mayor. How are you feeling today? And then today, I also would like to highlight step four. Step four in our process is chapter 20. It starts on page 83. I break it down into an A and B part. The A part is relevant if you're doing, I call it a deep dive because I don't have a better word for it, but when I work with clients that are doing intensive deep healing, especially if you're going deep within a particular relationship or scenario of life, a divorce, relationship with a parent, or a sibling, or a workplace environment where there are many instances. Um, and we go and unpack that category of trauma within our lives. And what happens is, as you begin to work down, well, what happens, let me just give that disclaimer. There's a little bit of a different process when we do that. And what happens is you first do your list, like a table of contents, all the incidents, give them a title. And so you have a table of contents that we're working from, and then you do all the step ones before you go on to step two. You do all the step twos before you go on to step three. And so what happens is you have multiple, by the time we get to step four, step three was listing um, the responses. And if you've got multiple step ones and twos, the responses are going to be a list, but because there are multiple incidents, sometimes you respond in similar ways. This incident and that incident have similar responses. So your list might have two of those. And so part of this is that consolidation process, that we don't want to have a list with 15 of I cried. And so what happens in the first part of step 4A when someone's doing that deep dive process is you start grouping your survival responses. The example in the book on page 84, I shut down emotionally. I didn't tell anyone what happened. I sat quietly. All of those might be grouped into silencing or silence. You might give that type of behavioral response a category. And what happens is you then begin to narrow down to your categories of responses. I got 7 times in this group of incidents where I was silent. Well, that would be in response type number 1, silence. You might have other ones, I left, the fight or flight, and I flew away. I left. I got up and left the room. I hung up the phone in the middle of the conversation. All of those might be grouped as I left. And so part A of this chapter is designed so that the instructions are there for those that may be doing that kind of depth work with this tool. But for those that are doing one incident at a time, because you don't have often those duplications of behaviors, because you're only dealing with one moment, one incident. In that one incident, you didn't hang up the phone 5 times, because that incident is one scenario. This phone call, the phone call on Sunday, May 11th. And so you won't have that replication most likely. And so for those doing just one step at a time, really skipping the 4A and going to the 4B in the instructions. And what you may notice is that 4B is very similar to step 2, except it's got a different focus. In step 4, our focus turns the mirror to myself. It says, we're going to take those responses, my responsive behaviors, and I'm going to do that process of 1, I want to look at the values. What were the values being demonstrated by what I actually did? And what are the values that I actually believe? One of the examples in the book, I gave everything to avoid being rejected. I believed I'm worthy without giving in any way. What I did was I did this thing because I was feeling probably insecure. And so my behavior was you give to everyone, even sacrificially. My value is I'm worthy without the giving. And so both of those would be values expressed in this particular step. So identifying the values, both things you agree with and things that you don't, but you actually lived out. This isn't about the other people in the scenario. This is all about you. This is identifying the places within our behavior that are creating trauma in our life. I did this thing and it created trauma in my life for me. I did the things that created trauma in this part of the incident. Because remember, trauma created by other people, our resolve for that, how we deal with that, because we can't control other people so well, is we set boundaries. When someone's doing things that's violating my values, that is creating trauma, and I'm responsible for choosing the boundaries I'm going to set to limit that damage. But the trauma created by me, I have full control of. This is part of the process where we are still not doing any judgment. We're not doing any analysis. We are still gathering facts. What are the facts? What did I do? What are the values behind what I actually did? And do any of those values conflict with values I actually believe? And this is where you get to challenge yourself. One of them that comes up often is that value surrounding expression of emotions, like crying. I cried. Crying is a sign of weakness. Crying means you're not strong. Crying means insert things that you may have picked up in life. And that may be exactly the values you live from. But remember, this is about questioning that. Do I actually, let me get on self, if I'm being totally honest, do I believe that? I cried because I had a reason to cry. I should be able to express my emotions in ways that are healthy, and crying is a healthy expression of my emotions. Oh, wait. But I'm also playing those things that I hear, never let them see you cry. Or one that I see often, men don't cry. That reminds me of an incident early on in my move, right before I retired. My grandson number 4 was born, and it's my daughter that lives in the Atlanta area, and I was living in South Carolina, so he was close enough for me to get to. My other grandchildren are in California, and distance and dynamics and all of that, they far. It's not the closeness. And so I got in my trips back and forth and during my transition time to spend time with them, because I'd gotten rid of my home finally in South Carolina. I'd sold the farm. Farm was gone and liquidated. The tiny cabins were gone. I was in a studio apartment for a while in that transition mode because I was traveling. I didn't need a whole lot. And once I got done with that, they were my home base. When I'd come into the States, I'd be coming to their house, partly because I was getting my play in. And I remember one day, my grandson's dad, they were playing, and they was, they boy playing. They was doing something, and my grandson was loving it, but he got hurt. Something happened, and he got hurt. He probably fell, or they, just boy stuff. And I was loving it because just that idea of his father and engaging and eagerly being engaging with him. And he was crying. And I'm a grandmother, so sometimes I just observe. I'm not a parent. I don't want to be, I'm in the grandmother stage of life where you ain't responsible for nothing but snacks and play. And sometimes naps. And sometimes naps because we need naps after we do the snacking and playing. And his dad picked him up and he said, "Boys don't cry." And everything in me cringed, but I paused. And he said, "Hold on a minute. That ain't right." And he said something to the effect of, "Oh, poor baby, cry if you need to." Like, where in that moment, he caught himself repeating some of those old values that got piped into his experience in Black manness, Boys don't cry. You tough. You do be tough. You be tough. You just suck it up, brush it off, walk it off. And in that moment, I said, this boy gonna be all right. This boy gonna be all right. Because it was that speaking it out of his mouth had him catch it because this is your baby. You didn't believe it. You know, you may have lived it during times of your life, but you didn't believe it. But it was also that hopefulness of seeing this next generation not make some of the same mistakes that we have made. Not because it was intentional, because we didn't know no better. And even if we knew better, we couldn't do no better. We was doing the best we could. It may have been dangerous. It may have been culturally necessary during certain times, but it ain't now. And if we continue those behaviors that might have been relevant in times of crisis, they're not relevant sometimes if crisis isn't happening. And that's how we do life. That may have been appropriate. You may be in a situation where that may be dangerous to allow your emotions to be expressed openly. But for a lot of places and situations in life, being honest is still allowed. We just don't choose that. And sometimes you want to cry. And so choosing to evaluate your values, did I agree with that value? I know what I did. Acknowledge that because we're talking about truth. Do I hold true to that value? Do I want to keep holding true? Because maybe I did, but maybe I don't want to no more. Because as long as you hold that value, not supposed to cry. Every time you cry, you'll be creating conflict and trauma within yourself. So step 4 asks you to list your values. But then just like step 2, it says, what did this cost? What are the losses that resulted from this conflict? What are the losses that resulted from my behavior? When I did those things that may not have aligned with my value, what was the cost? This doesn't determine whether or not what you did was right or wrong, whether your values were right or wrong. It says for you to look at the cost. Is that a cost you were willing to pay? Because you didn't already paid it. You didn't already paid it. Did you pay it voluntarily or was it a knee-jerk reaction? Did you reach for that behavior? And in hindsight, you're seeing, I reached for it without even thinking. I went so fast, from 0 to 100 so fast on them. And I did this and this and this and this almost in a blind rage. I got triggered and I just insert your appropriate drugs of choice, your behavioral drugs of choice. And sometimes your behavioral drugs of choice are to use substances, are to use things, retail therapy. We say it and we laugh, but is that your drug of choice? We use things like sex. We use things like position, titles, esteem, ego feeding behaviors. Feed my ego. In social media, part of that, difficult line sometimes is the ego feeding potential of how social media works. How many likes I got? How many shares I got? How many followers and subscribers do I have? How popular am I by those standards of success? And sometimes, if we're looking for drugs of choice, those become the drugs of choice. Is there anything wrong with social media? Not in and of itself, perhaps. Yeah, it's being debated. But if I use it as a drug, it is what it is. So many things that there's nothing wrong with only become harmful when we use them as drugs of choice. I talk about the costuming. There's nothing wrong with it. Dress up however you want to. But if the costuming is your drug of choice, it is what it is. Doesn't say weave is bad, braids are bad, makeup is bad, jewelry is bad. It says none of that. It says, how are you using it? Are you using that as a drug of choice? And some of the ways you can tell is, can you not use those things and still be okay? Still be worthy and acceptable, beautiful? If the answer is no, then it may be that those things are becoming a drug of choice and not just an accessory to your life. And so this has you look at the cost. What's the cost? I reached for my behaviors that help my ego not feel so out of whack. What did it cost me? And then it's to sit with that. Step 4 gives you the options of, let's see, the worksheet for step 4 lets you categorize those responses, list your beliefs, values, expectations, the what should have happened, how should life have gone, what were the play rules for this particular interaction with this particular person, and then your losses, and then at the end, an opportunity to participate in Sankofa Circle and bring that back into the community healing space with your healing support people, whether it be group or a person that you've connected with that is walking through this healing process with you as that spiritual, emotional healing support person. And at the end of chapter 1 is where I go into the dynamics of how to participate in the healing circle. It's designed to be a safe space. It's not a place for analysis. It's not a place for judgment and advice giving, because those things, even though they may be good intention, can be harmful. And again, I encourage you to trust the process. Some of these steps may not seem complicated, but there's value in speaking your truth. There's value in practicing hearing others as they interact with your truth, the identification process. There's value in practicing hearing how someone else has identified with your truth and being able to not give judgment, not give defense, to simply say thank you, to allow others to express what impacts them in their lives without you needing to defend your responses, your story. And so I encourage you to do that each step of the way. So that's step 4. Step 4, encouraging you to do the work. This is good information, and I think it will bless you, the information, but you will see the power in this healing method by doing the work. It's the difference about talking about healing versus doing the work of healing. This is very much an experiential process. There's good head knowledge from this process. There's things you can learn and really be able to apply to your life, especially in real time, if you learn the process. And that's good for dealing with real time life as it's happening. But so many of us have bags of baggage packed. And this is like realizing that I don't care how much perfume you put on funk, it's still funk up underneath there. And some of the mess in our lives is the funk from the experiences we've had that have been so much less than loving. The interactions with people who were doing their best, but their best was raggedy and damaging. And so learning this process is good. If that's where you're at, take that step, read the book. But I encourage you to commit to exploring the process, because the work of healing is what gets you free. We got a lot of head knowledge, and I'm all for it. I'm a lifelong learner. I'm always learning some new stuff. My kids tease me about it. What else you done learned? My mother used to tease me in her way about it. Something else to add to your resume? And I'd be like, nah, I just want to know stuff. I mean, I can't keep up with some of the stuff to be putting it on no resume. And I ain't got no resume to be giving nobody, because why? I ain't looking for no job. So maybe, but I got certificates, places. Oh yeah, I remember that. Oh yeah. Oh, they gave me a piece of paper, or that kind of thing. But I'm a lifelong learner. But this is a work of healing. And I don't care how much head knowledge you got. If you don't do the work of healing, it doesn't set you free. It doesn't set you free. Not that it's not progress, because even small steps is progress. Let me clarify that. Small steps of progress. Start where you can. Move at the speed that you can. But doing the work of healing is what's going to get you free, and keep you free. If you're not doing the work of healing, this is really good behavior modification. Follow the steps when you're in crisis so that you don't do so much damage to yourself and to others. But the goal is freedom. The goal, as I read from the poem this morning, is about bridge builders. Building a bridge from the old paradigm to the new. But we need folks on the bridge to be able to reach those that may be thinking about stepping on the bridge. We need folks that are crossing the bridge and living in the new paradigm to be able to build that bridge, to steady that bridge, to reach hands out from a new paradigm, reaching back to those that are on that bridge, making the move into a new paradigm. And so if you're here, one, I know we're called to heal. Can't live your purpose out so well if you ain't healing. But I believe community is important. And that's why healing together makes it easier. Not that we're not each individually responsible for our own healing. Ain't none of you responsible for my healing. I recognize that. But when we are both committed to healing and we choose to do it together, man, it's a whole lot easier. I promise you, it's easier. It's easier to do this hard thing that needs to be done. So I encourage you to use the process, trust the process. 30 times. If you've got the print book, you've got 30 opportunities right there in the workbook section to be able to practice it. Take 30 incidents for your life. Give it that much time and investment. Give it that much time and investment and see if you don't get your money's worth in value. I'm big on getting your money's worth. If you haven't figured out, I like getting my money's worth out of life in general. And so I know this, I feel this is good value. To try to make healing accessible, real healing. There's a lot of videos online, free, my thing. I think there's about 9 or 10 different training videos that'll walk you through these steps so you can kind of do a self-guided coaching. Yeah, the book helps us fund other things that I want to do. I'm looking now to expand our umbrella homes, our healing transitional homes. I'd like for people to be able to come and just live with this, with the coaching support, 3 months, 6 months, especially as people are preparing to leave the country, to come and let this be your step out while you do that rest and healing, retooling for a new paradigm, and then figure out where in life you're going to go next. And so part of this helps us fund that. The retreats, some of the other training opportunities, that's where the money goes to, because I got to be sustainable in life and to keep doing this work. You know, it allows us to be able to do that in ways that's not sacrificial, that's balanced, because that's what we teach. We teach in balance. That's what nature teaches. So we want to fall in line with those rhythms. All right, Mayor is feeling grateful, hopeful, loved, and confident. Happy Mother's Day to all of those who are mothers biologically or mothers in spirit. There's a lot of people that offer mothering love for a variety of reasons in a lot of ways, and we want to honor that today. We want to honor the work of doing your best, giving love in the best way you know how, sharing it with someone outside of yourself, your children, or other folks' children or grandchildren. Um, I've got a pair of daughters that said they're gonna be the rich aunties. We don't want no babies. We don't want the responsibility. Maybe we think about getting a dog, but we don't even want that right now. But I see the role that they play in their nephews' lives, and there's honor in that too. We need that. We need the young mothers who got the energy to do some of this, and we need the old mothers too. And so we honor the mothers this morning for the commitment to community that they make day in, day out, when it's easy and when it's hard, especially when it's hard. So thank you, and we honor that. Anyone else this morning have your feelings to share? How are you making it through the process? Um, let's see, we are on day 27, 28, 29, 30. That means Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. On Tuesday, we definitely want to honor Tuesday and Wednesday any of the 5B celebrations. So if you are finishing some of those processes and you have a 5B you want to share, I'd love for you to record it or send me your a typed out version of it, because I don't know if I can get you on this live thing with YouTube. Y'all know I'm waiting on my replacement computer, and I'm working on the two computer. This is not my old computer because that one died. I used it till the wheels ran all the way off of it. This is the one before that. It won't update no more. So it's special needs. It's real special needs. So I'm not sure what I can do. But if you'll send me a link to a video or send me the video where I can have it on my drive, or you send me the text of your 5B, we want to honor that work that you've done this month. Thinking about maybe doing a post follow-up Probably do one final, perhaps evening um, group exhale. So maybe one evening this week after we finish this challenge, we'll come back together, or there'll be an opportunity to come together on like Google Meet or on something that lets us dialogue in two-way. So I'll work on getting myself together. Let's see the update. I'll give y'all the update because y'all my morning people for this month. Um, Community. Let me just if you let me take just another 5 minutes on community. Question: is there a way to get temporary residency with my 19-year-old son who's in college and does not have an income? If I get residency, check. I ain't the expert on that, but I know there's some dependency tag-alongs that if you're here, your dependents can come along. I don't know what the age cutoff is for children, youth, young adults, 19. I know I'm here on a professional visa. We're going to take a brief detour on visa. I'm here on a professional visa and in Ecuador with a minimum of a bachelor's degree. Um, in anything, you are eligible for a professional visa. The professional visa only requires you to have equivalent of 1 month of their average salary, which is $450 a month right now. Maybe it's gone up to 475. I think it was 450 for a little while. And when I applied for my visa, I'm coming up on the 2-year mark of that, where I then can transfer it to permanent residency. I was not even required to prove my income. I had to show no proof of income just to get my degree certified. They want it to be a traditional degree in residency, but if it's a distance or hybrid degree, I've read on their policy that there are some variations of allowance for that as well. But a traditional bachelor's degree minimum, you get that certified. There's some paperwork that you got to gather. It's not hard once you understand what you need. So learning the vocabulary, I didn't know what no apostille was when I started this process because I didn't know nobody that had no apostille, nothing. Um, there's several other options. There's investment options where you can come put money in a high earning CD. Our CDs here pay upwards of 10.25%, and they pay out the interest on a monthly basis. So that becomes another passive income stream. So there's several options. There's the pensioner's visa that requires, I think, 3 times the monthly income. So 450 times 3, it's somewhere around 13 something, 1350, and it adjusts as that inflation adjustment takes place. So check on that. There's a small additional income amount for dependents, but I don't know what the age cutoff is for your children that may be in college. So check with someone who's qualified to do that. I work with a facilitator that I've referred a lot of people to. I like him, and he does not charge premium prices to expats, which is a thing in a lot of places. They call it getting gringoed. So reach out to me privately. I'll connect you with the guy that I refer to. He's the one that does my work, and I'll have him do my conversion as well, more than likely, to be able to get those questions asked by a professional that is up on whatever the current policy is. So just send me a note. If you send it to me on WhatsApp, I can send you his WhatsApp contact information where you can reach out to him, or send me a note on Facebook because he also responds pretty good on Messenger, I think. So, but WhatsApp is easiest because I can do a kind of a handshake with a little group message and say, I'm sending this person to you. I need you to not get them lost in the mix and give them the information they need. So do that. I forgot I was going somewhere else. I was taking a rabbit trail to something else. Oh, my update. I'm gonna give y'all the update. So community, let me just give you a plug because all of this work is about community. How do we fix community? Us. And as you know, had a burglary, but I was out looking at some properties, whole thing, umbrella houses, transitional homes that have the healing piece wrapped around. I did a prototype pilot program 3 years as I was retiring about can we do affordable housing with the healing first modality and have it be very affordable, but also provide the necessary social support for people. And so I was out with one of my neighbors who had some properties and they've got a new construction. And so the whole family came to pick me up. Well, in this process, she knew that I had a burglary, and we have some neighborhood chats. There's the Capulis Pamba Información, and then there's the Capulis Pamba Negocios. That's where they sell and stuff. One's just the community info. Well, on the way back, she says, Lorana, I think there's a video of your robbers. And I said, girl, keep talking, tell me, show me what you got. So she pulls up. Security died. There's a security group for the neighborhood. I didn't know there was a security group. She says just for security stuff, and the police department stays tapped into that. So people put up their security cam videos, anything that's questionable that might be criminal, they put it there. And if you have something going on in the neighborhood that others need to be knowing about, you put it there. Well, someone had put this video up. So I said, I got to get in this group. Where the video at? I need to see what's going on. So they did. JC is our borough president. And I haven't met him, but I knew about him because my next door neighbor used to be the president. And they told me when he was stepping down, he's 80 years old, he's stepping down. And so they got me in the group. I joined the group. First of all, let me tell you what happened. Within 5 minutes of me, thank you for adding me to the group. I'm Lorana. I live on Soviet Union Street in front of the park. I'm one of the gringas in your neighborhood. There's not many of us. It's mostly Ecuadorian. Within minutes, I got a phone call. I'm using my best Spanish. I look it up. She's the lieutenant of my neighborhood police precinct or whatever. And she talked to me long enough, got my information about who I am, and she's trying to probably put a face with who it is. And she says, I'm gonna just message you the rest of it. Good, message me, because then I can use my translator and make sure we're communicating. And she says to me in this message, I'm your neighbor. If there's anything you ever need, reach out. We're here to help. We're here to help each other. I got 3 or 4 more messages just like that. And I said, I joined the group. One, I didn't know about it till today, but I'm joining the group because there's a video, and I had a robbery on Monday night, Tuesday morning, and I saw a video that looks like what I described of these gentlemen. Do you know within 5 minutes, whoever that person is, I think his name is Victor, there's a security camera on his house right up the street from me, and he had caught the assailants coming in down the street towards my house. Within 5 minutes, he had video, not just of them coming in to the neighborhood, walking up the street, but at just about the time that I had told them this incident, I saw them running up the street from my house. I know it was me because the last 2 guys were the ones that jumped over the balcony, and they were dressed just like I said. And then I realized, I'm grateful because it wasn't just 3. It was 4 young men. And it wasn't just our neighborhood, because in the group she had shown me they had a vehicle, but there were several other places, not even this neighborhood. The Recorte neighborhood is an adjoining neighborhood that's not far, within 5-minute drive, 7-minute drive maybe from us, but on this side of town. They had been going to different places. One of the videos showed where they attempted to go to one house and the alarm went off, and you see them running away. You see them putting their hoods on and not. Community. Not being afraid of my insecurities to make relationships. My Spanish is raggedy. It's functional, but it's raggedy and I know it. Not letting that insecurity or not letting that deficit trigger insecurities where I don't make relationships. This lady is the lady I buy eggs from and sometimes milk when they got an overage of milk, who has these new properties. She had put it in the group. I want to go look. I want to see. I got some things in mind. But then to realize that by having these relationships with her children now, the husband, now the precinct, the police lieutenant, the officers, my neighbors that I see in passing, and with several of them I explained, they says, if you've been here that long, we know you. I said, I probably know you in passing. We've passed each other on the street, in the neighborhood, at the park. I've probably been watching you at the park from my window perch. And so I'm grateful this morning. That's a long story to say, and I'm long-winded today, but I'm grateful today. I'm grateful for community, who their first instinct is to say, if you need anything, let me know. Their first instinct is to respond. I tell y'all, this is like living 1970s neighborhood. A little bit of sadness in my heart is disappointment that goes with that gratitude, is because in close proximity to me, the very few of the Americans that live here live real close to me. And none of them were that responsive. None of them have been that responsive. And I know, because our culture is different. Part of why I love being here is putting myself into a culture that already shares values with me. That values that say, you, my neighbor, my other neighbor, the one who responded on the spot when they heard it. They heard me howling at these guys chasing them. The dogs were on it in the neighborhood. She says, we got to watch out for each other because we're neighbors, not because I'm black. They beige Ecuadorian. They're of the lighter persuasion of Ecuadorian, of people of color than me. They Ecuadorian, I'm American. There's a whole lot of things that we could rely on and show differences and build walls. Instead, they're saying we neighbors, and that makes us family. We're supposed to take care of each other. We're going to be looking out for each other. Someone said maybe we get some sort of alarm system. So if something happened like this at night, the alarm goes off and everybody go out. Everybody go out their house and try to, help our neighbors. They own it. They own it. They own it. How can I participate in this? Maybe I need to get a camera to add to the network of cameras in the neighborhood. I got one packed away somewhere. I'm going to go dig it out because I want to be a good neighbor too. Not just receiving, but what can I give? I'm going to join the group so I can be a part in case there's anything. And I notified my neighbors first thing, but there's a group just for that. So I'm grateful this morning. I'm feeling grateful even with the disappointment. I'm not going to spend a lot of energy on the disappointment. I'm going to spend it on the gratitude for my neighbors, my community who share my values. A lot of people can be your neighbors and not your community. These people are my community, and I'm grateful for that this morning. So I've been long-winded. Happy Mother's Day. Let's see. It'd be great to have another Healing Circle check-in. We'll do that at the end. So get your 5 brief celebrations and any insight. This is where you come share your insight because y'all have learned some stuff that you could share with other people or had some experiences. Sarah B shared some of her real life experiences with her social tech tools this week. For those that were in the group Exhale, I couldn't get it together. It ain't recorded, ain't no evidence of it. So you got to talk to somebody. If this is helpful for me too, great. Yeah, message me offline if you guys got immigration questions or things like that. This is a country where you can come and plan to stay 6 months very easily. You walk in with a 90-day visa. You also can apply for an extension visa and just pay like $150 and it gives you another 90 days. So you can do 180 days here on just your passport. Thank you all for letting me share a little bit long-winded. Just reach out. Only day that I ain't going to be available, I think, is Wednesday after we finish. Because it's spa day. It's spa day. That's my healing, part of my healing protocol is to take my Chick-fil-A money to the spa and go with a friend because they be doing buy one, get one free. And $20 spa day is my idea of good healing. So reach out to me any day other than Wednesday because I'll be ignoring my phone probably on Wednesday after we finish with this. Have a wonderful day, you all. Happy Mother's Day to all of you. And we'll have some silent work time. Thank you for healing together, providing this space for those that choose to heal together. Y'all have a great day. Enjoy the day. See you at the same time, same place tomorrow.